Do you want to get ahead of the crowd and make sure you're ready to go for patch 7.3? Well then look no further. My name is Tenelin, and today's video will be a full breakdown of what you can be doing right now while we wait for the patch and what you'll need to know once it's out, so let's get into it. Patch 7.3 is not expected until around the first week of August, but there is a good amount of work that we can be putting into prepping ahead of time, so I wanted to get this video out a little earlier than normal. This past release will give us our final crafted gear set for both crafters and gatherers for all of Dawntrail. This will be a full armor set, accessories, and new tools. This will serve as our best in slot for the rest of Dawntrail, other than the main hand relic tool that we will continue to upgrade with Cosmic Exploration. So it really will be the time to go all out for this gear, as we'll keep it for nearly a year until 8.0's release. Speaking of Cosmic Exploration though, I do expect this gear to have a higher demand than any gear set in the past because Cosmic Exploration is slated to have 3 more planets during Dawntrail, and this will give us more and more reason that we'll want this gear. Even in the 7.2 patch cycle, there are some crafting recipes that are a bit too difficult to achieve gold star ratings on consistently, so the new gear with its increased stats will help us out. On top of that, it's also a great time to get into crafting and gathering if you're just catching up to the level cap because of Cosmic, or whatever other reasons you have to join in the fun. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to break this video down into 2 sections, gathering prep and crafting prep. And then after that, we'll also have a section that's going to be talking about what to expect once the patch has been released to let you know what you should be looking for. I do have to put a quick disclaimer, everything in this video is based on educated guesses and historical patch cycles for Final Fantasy XIV. I don't have any inside knowledge, so things are technically subject to change, but Square Enix is pretty consistent and we've never really seen any major changes to how these recipes work. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth into gearing and melds in this video, as I've got a few others already covering everything. But if you are looking for meld information because you're not geared up yet, or you still need to get a couple melds in your gear, I would highly recommend just aiming for the Teamcraft mid-tier melds, which I'll link down in the description. The biggest thing you'll need to have is the minimum perception to be able to gather the new legendary folklore items, and there also will be a new Aether Sand that will release in 7.3, so if you aren't able to match this meld set completely, at least ensure that you have 5,000 gathering and around 5,097 perception before food buffs. You can easily supplement your stats afterwards with some decent food such as the stuffed peppers or Terali pineapple ponds cake, or even nasi goreng if you need some more GP. We don't know exactly what the numbers for breakpoints are going to be on these new nodes, so you will have to wait until that stuff is out. But just go for the minimum if you aren't geared at this point, because you're going to be replacing that gear as soon as 7.3 is out anyway. I wouldn't recommend you go for any of the high tier pentamelded builds if you don't already have them. The great thing about gathering is it's a lot easier to be able to scrape by and just gather at the bare minimum stats. And having higher stats will only just increase your yield, making it a little bit faster. But again, because we're going to be replacing this gear with the 7.3 gear, it's really not worth going all out on the start of the patch if you haven't already gotten your gear. With the melds out of the way, let's talk about items that you can actually gather. Now, gathering actually has a good amount of items that we can get our hands on before the patch comes out that will significantly speed up the rate at which you'll be able to craft the new gear in 7.3. And we can also make a hefty profit off of most of it, as there's a lot of time-gated materials that we're going to need. First off, you should be gathering all of the 7.2 legendary folklore materials still. All of these are listed here on the screen. Now, not only are these used for the 7.2 combat gear, which is still relatively in demand at this point of making this video, but they'll also be used for the 7.3 crafting and gathering gear. I would recommend getting a stockpile of all of these while you can, and while you're gathering, don't forget to double dip and run a superior spirit bond potion so you can extract some materia too. For those who don't know what these items are though, you do need to have the folklore books from the purple script vendor from any of the script vendors after you've reached solution 9 in the MSQ in order to actually see these items. Using this book will unlock the time nodes that rotate every 5 minutes of real life time, and you can follow a timer to tell which one is up at which time because they are hard set on Eorzean time. You can even look in your in-game gathering log once you've gathered them once to see where and when they will spawn. I personally recommend using a timer app such as Teamcraft's timers which I'll link the 7.2 legendary node list in the description for you, as well as a video that explains how to set up the overlay version that I'm using here. This does not break the TOS. This is just an alarm overlay that is not running with the game. It's essentially just a glorified clock that tells you when certain items are up. As a quick price tracking note, it's mid-May at the point of this recording, and these items on my server are already back to over 1,000 gil apiece when they were under 500 just a few weeks ago. The other most important item that you're going to need is elemental clusters. All master recipe crafts require clusters, which are a higher step than crystals, and I have a lazy method for gathering both of them, and you can find that video here. Crafting collectibles will also be in high demand once 7.3 comes out, as we're going to have some new items we'll need to buy for orange scripts, and people will be looking to stock up on materia for both purple and orange scripts. So gathering any items that are needed for collectible foods is a fantastic way to prepare yourself and sell the extras on the market. The most popular crafts right now are the tacos de carne asada, the Saigon Bavaroy, and the stuffed peppers. I would recommend gathering any of the items on these lists, as these are the most popular and high demand items for collectibles, as they are just the easiest ones to craft. Technically, any of the other jobs collectibles can still have a demand in items, but most of them have an extra prerequisite craft, and a lot of people, especially omni crafters, are not going to aim for those ones. They are going to do the culinarian ones. Speaking of culinarian and food items, I would expect to see a bump in demand for both crafting and gathering food in 7.3. There will be new food that is released, but I wouldn't expect to see a high demand for that one until 7.4. And I would expect the current food that we're using right now is what we're going to be needing for this patch cycle. The most important one, and the one that you really should look into if you are a fisher especially, is the Cloudsail. I highly recommend checking this one out, as Cloudsails and the crafter food you can make from it, ceviche, are in an insanely high demand even to this day because of cosmic exploration, and they will definitely see another spike again in 7.3. I have a video going over how to catch them if you're not familiar with them. They're very easy. It's actually a pretty chill fishy method. Other foods to look out for are the stuffed peppers, the Ronique steak, and the Turali pineapple Pons cake. There may be a small bump for nasi goreng as well, but as it's the GP based food, it shouldn't be as in high of a demand, I don't imagine. My guess is that the stuffed peppers will be in the highest demand due to their good perception bonus and the GP they provide. These are already selling for over 5k each on my server right now. And of course, Materia, the final prep for gatherers that I highly recommend and have already mentioned, is making sure you have a stock of materia ready to go, especially if you plan on pentamelding your own gear in 7.3, or if you want to take advantage of the rise in prices once the new gear is out. Everybody always underprepares the amount of materia they need in order to pentameld, so prices always spike during these patch cycles. You can check out my Spiritbonding guide from 7.1 if you want more information and aren't sure how to do this, but the quick and easy version is make sure you have pentamelded gear, throw on a superior Spiritbond potion, and gather all of those legendary 7.2 nodes that you need to get anyway. If you're enjoying the new content of Cosmic Exploration and you're level 100 on your jobs, also don't forget to boost your Spiritbonding there with a potion, as these are level 100 nodes and they do give some nice levels of Spiritbonding for free. Now let's talk about crafting prep. The first thing, gear. Now I'm going to say the same thing that I said for gathering melds. I would recommend going for the mid-tier meld sets if you haven't gotten your gear already set up at this time. This gear should be able to complete any of the 7.3 crafts without an issue. You may just need some extra high quality prerequisite materials, which is not that big of a deal because we can actually prep half of them ahead of time. If you currently have no gear and you want to be able to catch up, you could check out my budget setup for 7.2, and I'll have that video here. But there is a chance that this will be shy of stats in order to craft the new gear in 7.3. We won't really know until we actually have the gear requirements once the patch is released, so it's hard to tell. The upside though is that you can use this gear to prepare a lot of the items before then and still be able to make a hefty profit selling those materials, and then you can use that profit to buy the 7.3 set if you want to, and the budget setup is relatively easy to get into. It only really requires 3 melds in some of your pieces, so you don't have to do a full pentameld. But like I said in the gathering section, it's really hard to recommend you actually put a lot of time into getting even the mid-tier meld setup if you don't already have your gear set up at this point in the cycle. You only have about maybe 2.5 months until the new gear is out, and I can't really in good conscience recommend that you spend all of that materia melding this gear for 2.5 months worth of time. If you don't have that gear, I would just recommend getting as many of the items off this list as you can. Even some of these items, especially up in the food section for the gatherables, are actually lower level, and you can make a lot of gil just prepping these items so that you can afford the new gear when 7.3 is out. Another thing I would recommend is if you are participating in cosmic exploration and you're doing the relic tools, I would recommend getting all of your tools fully upgraded before 7.3 comes out, at least for the ones that you want to use or the ones that you don't have the Everseeker's main hand high quality tools already. These relic tools have the exact same stats as Everseeker's high quality at fully upgraded, except they also have the +8 CP, which is all I meld in my tools personally, so they're essentially the exact same. These don't cost anything but some time and a little bit of effort, so they are worth grabbing if you can, especially considering the fact that in 7.31 or 3.5 they will get another upgrade, which means they'll probably progress a little bit better than the tools that we're going to get in 7.3, or at least be nearly equivalent to the pentamelded versions of 7.3. Now let's talk about what items you should be crafting. Now I'm not going to get into the hardcore details of how I'm making these predictions, but rather just focus on what you should do and ask that you trust my methods here. If you want to see a full breakdown of my logic, I would be happy to make a separate video, so please leave a comment letting me know. It's just that there is a little bit too much to talk about, and I want to keep this video a little bit shorter. Now, the first thing that you need to know about patch 7.3 is that you are going to need a ton of crafter scripts, both purple and orange. For orange, luckily, we can spend our time crafting up those tacos de carne asada right now, because what you need to buy is the condensed solution. This is 125 orange crafter scripts. Now, once patch 7.3 is out, we will need a new item that will cost 500 purple crafter scripts. So make sure you're stocking up on things like Sticon Bavaroy or the stuffed peppers and throwing them into your retainers or anywhere you can hold them, so you can buy these new items once the patch releases. These will have an insanely high demand due to how many scripts they cost, so the more retainer space you can fill before the patch, the better for your early profits. Next up will be the 7.2 3-star 35 durability master recipes, and I'll put them all up here because I know that's probably confusing to most people. These are the items that we use for the combat gear in 7.2, and they can be crafted by combining the folklore materials that we had from 7.2 and a 20 cost tombstone material that you can buy from Zircon here in Solution 9. You can find these under the miscellaneous section. Now, these items will be used to craft the new gear for crafters and gatherers in 7.2 as well. I would highly recommend starting to craft these up, and especially in high quality, to make your life easier once 7.3 is out. This will be one of the best ways to speed up your crafting once that patch releases, as you'll use 2 types of these items per piece of gear, and it'll end up being about half of the materials that you're going to need to craft this new gear. So we can prepare a lot of these ahead of time and save so much time by doing so. Especially considering that you're going to need tombstone items. They are not easy to farm out other than with daily roulettes, so I would recommend, if you're doing your daily roulettes especially, to start buying these items. Cooking up some crafting and gathering foods will also be a fantastic way to make sure you're ready to craft the new gear. Ceviche and Ronique steaks will be in high demand once 7.3 comes out, and even for gatherers, we'll see an increase in demand for food as well. There is a small chance that this Cloudsail gathering food will spike in usage, but because gathering isn't as high as stat dependent as crafting, I would not expect to see the prices soar as high. Save your Cloudsails for ceviche, in my opinion, and for gathering specific foods, you'll want to focus on crafting stuffed peppers, the Turali pineapple ponds cake, and the nasi goreng. Crafting materia is also always insanely demanded once a new set of gear comes out, and you're also going to need some for yourself. Don't forget to stock up on as much as you can before the patch. Now you can either do this by crafting more tacos, as well as the Psychon Bavaroy or those stuffed peppers to turn in for scripts to buy materia, or you can do a new method, which is what I'm doing. I'm grinding out Cosmo credits while doing cosmic exploration, and there's a vendor here that you can actually purchase a decent amount of them. It's not nearly as fast as script farming, but you get to double dip on upgrading your relic tools or aiming for the 500,000 class points for each of those awesome new titles while you're doing it. Just a reminder, make sure that you're doing your mech operations anytime you don't have that credit boost for your stellar missions, as that does boost the amount of Cosmo credits you get as well. For the final section of the video, let's talk about what items you're going to actually need to focus on once 7.3 is out. Luckily for us, a lot of the work we'll actually need to do can be done before the patch, so we're only really having to focus on a few things once that patch has arrived. For gathering, we'll have 2 new legendary folklore items to gather, which will be added to 2 of the nodes that are already in the game from the 7.2 release. Make sure to check that alarm list that I have in the description that we talked about earlier, and you can use that once the patch is out to follow around to see where those new items are located and get them pretty quick and easily. We're also going to have 1 new Aether Sand that will be needed for all of the new items, and the current set of 4 that we have will be retired, so don't worry about gathering those before 7.3. Once we know where to gather this new sand, I'll have a video showing you the best ways to do so, but you can always check out the 7.0 Aether Sand video to get a better idea of what these are in case you aren't familiar. We should have 2 fishing, 1 botanist, and 1 miner node that we can get this Aether Sand on, so you'll be able to pick your favorite method to do so. And finally, like I covered in the crafting section, there will be a new item that you'll have to buy for 500 purple scripts, so be sure to stock up on your purple script collectibles before the patch releases. That covers everything that you need to know for prep in this video. Once the live letter is out in a couple of months, I'll be sure to post a video with any new information that you'll need, so be sure to subscribe to keep up to date. Now, one thing I do want to just mention at the end of this video is that this gear is not something that you need to work towards immediately. It's something that you can take your time with a little bit more than normal. There is no use for the 7.3 gear other than 2 things: hardcore cosmic exploration players that are trying to do the expert recipes, and people who are preparing to craft the combat gear for the Savage Raid release in 7.4. We will have a full 4-month cycle between this gear being released and when you actually need to have it ready for 7.4, so you can take your time. Don't panic buying any of the items or materia, just farm out what you need and gear yourself up over some time. Don't burn yourself out or make yourself feel like you need to have this gear immediately. Thank you all so much for watching, and a special thanks to my members here. You too can become a member for only $1 a month, and it gets you access to my videos a little bit early. You'll also get a unique role in my Discord if you'd like to join there, or a high quality symbol down in the comment section down below. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you are ready for 7.3.